Living up north where the winters are cold and the summers short, one learns to deal with the cards you are dealt. When the lakes and rivers freeze over, they become your highways. Those who lived on the islands walked across the ice in the winter. In the case of Madeline Island, there were times when you could drive your car across. These photos show some of those times. This was my first experience walking on water, or at least sliding over water. It is a rendering by Peter Jentzsch, a longtime resident of Shaw Point. His drawing is of my family crossing over the thin ice from Little Sand Bay to Sand Island on January 19, 1943. I was 1 month old. Depicted are Dad in the lead, pulling Carly on a sled, Mom and Connie walking hand in hand, and friend Fred pushing me in the red sled. Sharon was on the island staying with the Norings. The logic of the order was to put your heaviest in the lead with a pole in case he was to go through the ice. The pole would dissipate his weight over a wider area, and he could be pulled from the water using the pole. In later years, Fred told me that the few inches of ice were so thin that ice waved around us, and it was like walking on a very firm waterbed. Hills, later called Shaw Point, is shown on the island shore. This crossing story is in The Islander, Jentzsch family drawing. I am shown standing on water. A few years and a few months later, circa 2008, I stood for this photo taken by one of my Florida visitors. There was plenty of ice underfoot at Little Sand Bay. The Pete Jentzsch depiction would have been a couple of miles from this photo to the left. Sand Island is behind me. We lived approximately at the low spot on the island. Dahl family photo. Larry Southworth, Florida, wondered, is this stuff safe? This photo was taken on the ice road between Bayfield and Madeline Island, circa 2008. Carl Dahl, Larry, and I had just driven a car onto the ice road to see if it was safe for ice fishing. Seldom is the road this clear of snow, and it can be quite disconcerting to a native, let alone to one whose only experience with ice is in their cocktail. There was approximately 8 inches of ice below his feet. That's more than enough to keep us and several cars out of Davy Jones's locker. Ice actually forms better when there isn't snow on it. Bayfield, Wisconsin is in the background. Dahl family photo. We don't need no stinking license. In 2009, the whole Florida, Washington, D.C. gang is seen on the ice. From left is Larry Southworth, Hank Wright Moser, a park ranger, Lee Meadows, and Robert Dahl. After an incident on a previous trip when Lee had to pay a fine, everyone had the proper credentials this time. They were drinking, quote, coffee, unquote. Several trucks and cars as well as Bayfield can be seen in the background. The blue tent is an ice fishing pop-up. Dahl family photo. It wasn't all work and no play, or was it all play and no work? We always had plenty of Kahlua to keep us warm. Jimmy Edwards, a relative of ours who lives in Bayfield, had a sled filled with goodies. This is what it looked like after our coffee break. Dahl family photo. They walked on water around Sand Island long before I was born. This photo from the mid-1920s shows my mother, Elma Hansen, with her brothers, Paul and Jake Hansen, ice skating. I cannot identify the structure behind them. They would clear a section of ice offshore and enjoy a few hours of ice skating. The shadows in this photo indicate it was taken in the morning. Dahl family photo, BHA. This is a photo of Fred and Paul Hansen. They were setting a net through the ice in East Bay, Sand Island. Every winter they would attempt to catch fish to supplement their diets. They are about a mile east of the island out on the ice. They appear to be setting the net as they are spreading it rather than simply lifting it. Plus you see no fish being caught. Observing our Aunt Gert Hansen Garrigan with little Freddie Dahl, mid-1930s, Dahl family photo, BHA. Hank Bright Moser, Jacksonville, Florida, waves a fond farewell as he stands on water between Bayfield and Madeline Island, seen in the background. We were about a mile from either shore at this point. Dahl family photo.